In this segment of the Employee Data webinar, we'll review the employee time card, take a tour of it, discuss manually posting times, batch posting times, and rounding, the notion of what happens when you round if you're doing it through the check-in machine versus entering time directly. So the time card is right here. And if I click on that, I've got Mary Anderson's time card. You'll notice the banding on colors. So all of the prior pay periods are simply listed in white. The immediately prior pay period is in blue. This is the last completed pay period. And the current pay period would be here in yellow or beige, depending on how your screen is set. If I wanted to enter a time manually for an employee, I would just come down here. I would select their pay code. Let's say they were teacher in the infants room. I could select the day, the time, and let's say I was fully editing this and I knew that they were out at 4 o'clock, something like that. I could save it. I do get a warning because it's not yet that time. And if you ever enter a time manually, be aware that the employee will not be able to check in or out until that time period is over. So if I entered something for 6 months from now, I'd be locking them out of their time card because I'm saying this already happened. So once I've got one day here, if you're manually entering times, you could pick copy day if you wanted to quickly fill it out. Chances are you're going to have them actually checking in and out using Procare, so you wouldn't need to do that. And you can also use the copy week. I'm going to exit out right now without saving. The other way that you can enter time cards manually if you were going to do that is to go to Functions and do a Batch Post Time Card. This would be good if you had just a couple of employees coming in manually and you were not using check-in at all. I could set this up by saying, when were they employed? I'm going to put them in the primary work area. Maybe the bulk of these people were signed in as teacher, and I'd have my default hours and date. I could click Next, and then as I flagged this, I would be posting those times onto each and every person's time card. It's not likely you'll be doing this in Procare because the whole idea behind a time card in general is to have a record of when the person actually checked in and out, and that's usually accomplished through check-in. If you are using paper only, you could edit these directly, but you would be entering just one day at a time. And then you'd process, and all of these times would post into the time card. One thing to be aware of, if you do enter times, if I enter a time here, let's say I entered that 1:39, and in fact I had rounding turned on. If I edit a time card directly, the rounding rules don't take place. The idea is you're choosing to have it be whatever you want. So if you set up rounding in Procare, it applies only to when the employee uses the check-in workstation. If you ever did want to run a one-off report for somebody in Procare of their time card, you could go right to the time card, and right here on the report, I can click on the down arrow. I can run these reports as a one-off just for the one employee.